Welcome to my ultimate summer guide for Banff National Park. If you are seeking unforgettable experiences and breathtaking adventures, you have come to the right place. Nestled in the heart of the Canadian Rockies, Banff has an abundance of activities and experiences on offer for everyone. From thrilling outdoor pursuits to serene natural wonders, this video is going to be your passport to an extraordinary summer in Banff. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about my top things to do during the summer, from the touristy bucket list items to the lesser known activities and hikes in the area. So join me as we embark on a journey through Banff's most captivating attractions. As we go through the video, I will explain what stops that I think are a necessity and which of those I would personally steer clear of, having lived here for the last 2 years. If you stick around till the end of the video, I'm going to give you a nice summary of everything so you have the perfect list to go off when planning your next trip. I'm going to start with two of the most iconic and photographed locations within Banff National Park. Now, if you haven't guessed it already, this is Moraine Lake and Lake Louise. Both of these lakes are located in the town of Lake Louise, which is about 40 minutes from the town of Banff. You can get there via public transport during summer or by shuttles. You have lots of options, so you can check out other transport videos on my page for that. But here is where you are going to see those mesmerizing, incredibly blue lakes and waters that you see on all the postcards and travel, ads coming over here. These locations also have an abundance of incredible hiking trails around the areas and even remote little tea houses you can visit during the summer months. Being two of the most popular destinations in the park, these places do get super busy, but I actually think they are both so worth it. The crowds are there for a reason. And if you're coming to Banff National Park, I don't think a trip here would necessarily be complete without ticking these off your bucket list. Something quick to note before we move on, if you are visiting Moraine Lake, you cannot drive there. You do need to organize a shuttle to get there because the road is closed to private vehicles. My biggest suggestion is to go with Moraine Lake Bus Company. I'm going to put a link in the description with some more information and a link to buy tickets if that's something you're interested in. But for now, I'm going to keep moving through our summer stops. Now, if you're out exploring the park, I do think Johnston Canyon is a stop that is absolutely worth doing. Here, you can head out on a trail and feel the mist hitting your face as these impressive waterfalls are cascading through a limestone canyon you get to walk along. This is also one of the most popular trails in Banff National Park, so while I do think it is worth doing, I have a few tips for you on how to make the most out of it for your trip. Personally, I would recommend doing this trail either earlier in the morning or late at night. As it's in a canyon, you don't really need the best weather to do it in or the best lighting necessarily. So I would either stick to one end of the day. Now, if you have the time, I would also continue on and go to the ink pots. If you're going to do that, I would advise starting early in the morning, hike through Johnston Canyon and then up to the ink pots. They are these gorgeous little blue pools of water. And they bubble through the bottom and stuff. I don't know the science behind it, but they are really cool. And if you start early, you're gonna get this place mostly to yourself. It's not somewhere you want to be lining up to see a waterfall or fighting for space on the trail. It's such a beautiful location, but sharing it with everyone else can kind of take the magic out of it. So I would advise getting up early, starting your day, and if you're capable of continuing, do the whole trail. It's so worth it. The Banff Gondola is another iconic attraction within Banff National Park. This scenic gondola takes you up the side of Sulphur Mountain, and then from there you get the most stunning panoramic views of the town of Banff and the surrounding mountains. If you are coming to Banff on more of a budget, check out my last video where I talked about all of the budget-friendly alternatives and swaps you can do to still include this in your trip, but to save a little bit of money in the meantime. If you're after a similar summer gondola activity, but you don't want to do the one right in the heart of Banff, I would advise stepping out of town and visiting one of our local ski resorts instead. We have 3 ski resorts: Lake Louise, Sunshine Village, and Norquay. Now, all 3 of these are open for summer operations and they're all very different. Now, I have visited all 3 this summer and you can check out individual videos up on my channel for what each of these experiences are like, but they are really cool. They have free shuttle buses and there's something that will kind of get you out and exploring different things that not everyone gets to see. If you want more information on those, the Ski Big 3 website or the resort pages directly will be your best source of information. On your trip to Banff, are you looking for some adrenaline pumping adventures? If so, why don't you check out some of the awesome whitewater rafting opportunities we have out here on some of the local rivers. Now, the two closest options are going to be Kananaskis or Golden, both of which are about an hour to an hour and a half away, but they are such cool experiences. You can feel the mist of the water, fight your way through rapids, do really exciting activities. The one I've done personally was out in Kananaskis, and we even got to do some cliff jumping during our trip. The water is cold, but they suit you up with wetsuits and everything. But I think it's such a fun adventure. You know, they tell you about the area, the river you're rafting on, and you also get the thrill of whitewater rafting. For the daredevils, Banff also has a huge variety of rock climbing adventures. Now, there are so many different routes to challenge you and put your skills to the test. So if you want to go out and climbing by yourself, there's heaps of options. Otherwise, if you are looking for a guided climbing experience, definitely check out the Via Ferrata at Mount Norquay. I haven't done this yet, but it is on my bucket list for the summer. But it is a guided climbing experience where they'll take you around the mountain. You're hooked on with cables, so you're completely safe, but you get to see Banff in a way that not many people do. Next up, I want to talk to you about the Icefields Parkway. Now, this is the stretch of road between Banff and Jasper. It connects both of these national parks, and it is one of the most beautiful drives in the whole entire world. I think it's actually rated up in the top 10 and is something that is totally worth doing on your trip. Now, if you're doing both Jasper and Banff National Park, you're probably going to do this already, so you can kind of skip through if you want to. But if you're only coming to Banff, I would recommend doing at least a section of this road. Now, at bare minimum, I would go as far as Paddleboard Lake. That's about an hour and 10 minutes from the town of Banff. But if you have the time, I would go as far as Athabasca Glacier. That is kind of your midway point almost. It is 2 hours and 20 minutes from Banff National Park. And I know you're probably thinking, yeah, but that's almost like a 5-hour day there and back. Why would I want to do that? And I promise you, it's worth it. It is a long day, but the thing about this road is there are so many stops. There are picnic areas, there are gorgeous lakes. There is a whole, I think the Athabasca Glacier is the world's most accessible glacier. You can walk up to it, you can go on a tour and walk on it. It's just, if you don't live somewhere with glaciers, these things are not going to be around forever. You may as well go see it while you can. They are pretty cool. It's really, shaped all of Banff National Park. So it's nice to see what's still remaining. But the drive is just stunning. If you have the time, I would definitely go and do part of this. I think it's beautiful and totally worth it. Now, if you are going out to the Icefields Parkway, something I love is the Gypsy Guide app. Now, I've used this through the States and through Canada, and it is a GPS audio tour. You don't need phone signal, but you purchase the tour for the area you're visiting, and as you're driving along, you're just connected to the Bluetooth in the car, and it will just play over your music and give you tips and tricks and information about the area. The tours are really inexpensive. I think the last one I purchased was like $11, but it's like you have your own personal tour guide, and it is so good, and I think it makes your drive so much more worthwhile too. Coming back a little bit more local, Lake Minnewanka is something that is on a lot of people's bucket list as well. And this is a huge lake about 20 minutes from the town of Banff. Now, if you're driving out that way, there is a whole loop that connects 4 separate lakes. So you've got Minnewanka, Tujack, Johnston, and Cascade Ponds. And I know it sounds like a lot, but they are actually all quite different from each other, and they are stunning. And if you're seeing one, you may as well see them all. I think it is a beautiful little half day or day trip. Now, if you're going out to Lake Minnewanka, there are cruises that run there as well that take you down, that give you a little bit of history about the area. They are really cool. Now, if you're also going to Jasper, the same company run the cruises on Moraine Lake, and I think they're both great, but I do think the Moraine Lake one is better because you get to get off the boat, you get to see Spirit Island, take some photos. So if you're going to do one or the other, I do think the Jasper one is more worthwhile. But Minnewanka is still really cool. If you're going out there and you don't want to do a cruise, you can also go and rent a boat or a kayak and go explore that area at your own pace as well. There's also heaps of hiking trails and picnic areas, and you can spend a day by the lake, and it will be a day well spent. Two other spots to check out within the town of Banff are Bow Falls and Surprise Corner. For a little background, we have the Bow River, which runs all the way through Banff, and at one point it turns into a nice little waterfall, and it is definitely worth checking out. Now, if you go to Bow Falls, you're going to be on like the inner side of the river, and you're going to get a really good shot of the waterfall and a good view of that. Now, if you drive up and around to Surprise Corner, you're going to still see the waterfall a bit, but you're going to get that postcard view of the Fairmont Hotel. Now, the Fairmont Hotel here is really cool. It's like castle-like. It's a cool place to see and check out. And Surprise Corner is the best place to get a good view of that and a nice shot. If you've ever seen it on a postcard, it's probably from there. Now, this next location is something that you're probably gonna find on most online itineraries and things like that. But in all honesty, if you're coming in summer, I would advise against it. And this is the Banff Hot Springs. Now, I love the idea of a hot springs. The hot springs sound so peaceful and rejuvenating and exactly what you want when you're traveling. But the ones we have here, it is like a concrete pool. There's gorgeous mountain views from it, but it gets so busy. Every single time I've gone there, there is just so many people. You're packed in like sardines. There's nowhere to sit along the edge because it's all full. And it's just, the more you think about how many people you're in that pool of water with, the more you don't want to be there. I do wish they had capped numbers a bit more. I think it would make a better experience for everyone. But if you are looking for something along those lines, I do have a suggestion that I think is so much nicer and so much more worth it. And I'm going to get to that shortly. By now, we've probably touched on most of the things you've already heard of or seen on itineraries, and hopefully I've helped give you a little bit more information on those to help you decide whether it's worth it for your trip. But next, I'm going to go into a few things that I think are a bit less touristy or something unique to add into your experience that's going to be worthwhile for your trip. The first thing I want to talk about in that sense is hiking. And I know that sounds super generic, but we have so many beautiful trails out here. You don't need to do the ones that you always find on, must-see itineraries or things like that. Most of the trails out here are going to be worth your while. We are in one of the most beautiful places in the world, and the views are going to be great pretty much regardless. So go on All Trails. This is your best app for finding things that are in the area. Have a look at trail reviews, have a look at photos, find something that's suitable for you, but try and get off the beaten path a little bit. There are so many trails out here that are just stunning. There's like Taylor Lake, Boom Lake, Prairie View Lookout, and Kananaskis. Those are just some of them off the top of my head. But Kananaskis is one of my favorite areas to hike, and I think it's so underrated. There's really not much there in terms of amenities and things like that, but the hiking trails are just incredible because it is so untouched. There's opportunity for wildlife spotting, and there's so many just untainted views. I think it is totally worth it. So I encourage you to actually step out of things, do trails that you haven't heard of as much and give them a go, because I promise you they will probably be worth it. Now, while we're talking about Kananaskis as well, I want to alert you to the Nordic Spa. Now, I'm not going to go into this in too much detail. Go look it up. But if you are looking for somewhere to relax and rejuvenate, this is my favorite place to do so. Go check it out. Thank me later. Hiring a canoe out on one of the iconic lakes here is a very popular thing to do, and I think it is beautiful and worth it, but it is so expensive. So I want to propose to you an alternative. Go and look at a local company and rent an inflatable kayak or stand-up paddleboard and go to those lakes early for sunrise. I think fighting with the crowds during summer can really taint the experience a lot of people have here, and it doesn't need to. This place is beautiful, there is space for people, but we gotta spread out, right? We gotta get out of the norms. So my advice would be to go to a local company. I know Ski Big 3 do these offerings. There's other ones around too where you can rent this inflatable watercraft, take it away for a day's rental, and then I would go to one of these places for an early morning, sunrise ideally, blow this up and spend a morning on the water. Not only are you gonna have the most peaceful, beautiful experience, hopefully you'll get to see that, alpine glow on the mountains as the sun's coming up, but you're gonna save money probably, and you're gonna have the place majority to yourself. So I would highly recommend doing that. Flip your plans a little bit, and I think you'll thank me for it later. If you're looking for something a little bit more adventurous, I would highly recommend renting an e-bike and going and riding along the 1A. Now this is a stretch of road between Banff and Johnston Canyon, and it is beautiful. It's a wildlife corridor out there. There are hiking trails, there are picnic stops, viewpoints. It is about 50 kilometers round trip. I've done it myself. There's a video on my channel if you want to go check that out. But it is just something that's a little bit different. You're not going to be fighting for space on the road with people, and it's going to be a unique asset to your trip. If you want to add it in and make it a whole day thing, you can go do some of those trails, or add it in with a Johnston Canyon hike if you want to, or you can make it a half-day trip and just take a picnic, ride the parkway, come back. But I think that's really cool. There are so many e-bike providers in the town as well where you can rent them, and I think it is a pretty fun and inexpensive way to spend a day. Alternatively, if you're looking for something a bit more off-grid, why not look into doing a backcountry camping trip? Now, I know this sounds crazy if you're just coming for a few days or whatever, but backcountry camping out here is some of the best things you can do, in my opinion. I just love it so much. It's a great way to get out in nature. You know, you're not fighting anyone for space. You're going to be experiencing some of the most beautiful trails, and spending a night out here camping is one of the best things you can do, in my opinion. I think it is so cool. If you don't have gear, you can rent it in town so easily. Backtracks is the provider I use, and I love them. But that is a great way to do something completely different. You're also going to save money on a night of accommodation and get experiences you wouldn't have otherwise had. So if you want something different, I think adding it into your trip is actually much more achievable than you probably think it is. My second last suggestion for the video is, if golfing is your thing, go and check out the Fairmont Banff Springs course. This is a beautiful course. There's a 9-hole and an 18-hole, and you are probably never going to get to golf again with mountain backdrops like this. Rundle Mountain is right there as you are hitting your balls on this course, and it is beautiful. They have club rentals, so you don't need to bring anything, and it would be a fun little half-day experience if that's what you want to do. Finally, my last little tip or trick, there's a beautiful little lookout on Mount Norquay Road. Now, I lived here 2 years before I ever went up there, which is crazy, but now it is one of my favorite little spots, great for a lunchtime picnic, or if you want to go out for like a night picnic and sit there and watch the stars or whatever it may be. But you just drive about halfway up the road to Mount Norquay. The pull-out and parking lot is right there, and you cannot miss it. This is a beautiful little spot to just sit and enjoy where you are. As promised, here is a breakdown of everything I've discussed in this video today, so you can either take a screenshot or write things down to help inform your next travels. I hope that's all been helpful for you. If you can't tell already, Banff has so many amazing things to do, and I think you will not be bored on your next trip. I've lived in this little town for the last 2 years, and I absolutely adore it here, and I hope you have the best experience. Thank you for watching. Let me know which recommendation you think was your favorite or sounded the most exciting. I'd love to know. Otherwise, please click that subscribe button, like, comment, engage with me. I will chat to you soon. I'll see you in the next video.